Hi everyone, did you have fun during the weekend? It's great to hear that. We also had fun as well while working on rebuilding our VW T4 Westfalia van. Do you need to prime your van and you don't know how? Perhaps you don't know what you need? If that's the case, keep watching this video and you can get more information about how to prepare your van and how to prime it. Let's begin! If you're watching this video for the first time, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any of our tips and advice about living the van life. Like, for real. With all of that out of the way, it's time to start. The most important thing, time. It's actually what you need most if you're planning on priming and painting your van by yourself. So set aside at least few days or a couple of weekends in order to finish the job. If you've watched my previous video, you already know how to prepare your workspace for this job. If not, I suggest watching it. And just because I'm so kind, I'll put a link down below in the description. Now let's make a checklist of things you might need. Aluminium or body filler and a couple of spatulas. Primer. Usually for medium-sized van like ours, you'll need around 3 liters of primer if you want to prime the outside only. Dry and wet sandpaper, an electrical sander, masking tape, paper, newspaper or plastic for masking off the area, 3M paint filters, paint thinners, an air compressor with a spray gun, a container where you can mix the primer. And of course, a good protective mask. Before starting with the painting part, you should take care of all the gaps and bumps on the metal work. You can start with the aluminium filler. You just add it on the metal with spatulas. Then, when it's dry, you can start with the sandpaper. We began with an 80 grit, then a 120 grit, and we finished the job with an electrical sander that had a 320 grit sandpaper on it. Therefore, repeat the process if you see some areas still need to be touched up. Leave the filling to dry a bit. This is when you're ready to start with priming your van. Before doing it, clean the working area and wipe the wall surface or your van with a clean rag and thinners. That's just because remove dust. Wait until residue from the thinners evaporates completely before continuing. Start by masking all the parts of your van that you don't want to prime. A quick tip on how to apply the mask: add the tape on the edge of the paper, stick it to the sheet metal, flip it around and lift it up. By doing this, you will not have a defined edge for overspraying. Mask up the areas you don't want to paint by using masking tape and newspaper or plastic sheeting. Take time to doing this job well, it helps avoiding overspray. Mix the primer with thinners using the ratios recommended on the paint can instruction. They vary depending on the paint specifics. You then use the paint filter for filling the spray gun container. If it's your first time, it's best to practice your spraying technique. Find a piece of scrap metal and do some tests. Hold the spray gun roughly 30 cm from the panel and spray in a side-to-side sweeping motion. Apply the trigger only when you're moving the spray gun. Now that you've got your technique, start applying the primer on the van, working from the roof down. You have to apply the primer in thin, even coats. Allow time in between each coat of primer for it to dry out. You can use 2 or even 3 coats to get a perfect result on your van. When the primer is dry, you'll see the guide coat. It's a graphite powder which is specially formulated to help with the visual indication when you'll sand it. We started with a 400 grit dry sandpaper and went to a 800 grit wet sandpaper. And once all of the guide coats has disappeared, this part of the process is finished. You can then wipe down the primer surface with a rag slightly damped with thinners. Et voila! Your van is ready for the next steps, and as you can see, we're getting close to. In the next video, I'll tell you more about how to paint your van, as we'll be doing this job here at Rebuilding soon. That's it for today. As you know, creating video is time-consuming. You can easily reward us by subscribing to our channel, likes and comments our videos. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, safe travel, and I see you soon.